Welcome to Pathways to Success. I'm Valerie Phillips. I'm the head of America's Legal at Danos Associates. With me today is longtime friend and colleague, Kelly MacKinnon. Kelly serves as the Business Development Director of Practices at Shearman Sterling, where she oversees the firm's business development efforts across business units. So thanks for being here today, Kelly.
Oh, thank you so much, Valerie, for inviting me. It's such a treat to get to talk to you about something I love, working in the legal industry. So like Val said, I am the Director of Practices here at Shearman Sterling, and my role really is to do three things. One is to work with my lawyers and our practices to build the visibility and credibility within the marketplace. Two, of course, to go get new clients and bring them into the firm. And then three, really to nurture our client relationships and grow those. Just recently joined Shearman Sterling and absolutely thrilled to be here. And before I joined Shearman Sterling, I had a similar role at Fried Frank and other law firms. And then before that, completely different industry in sports and magazine publishing.
For listeners who are a little bit new to the America's legal practice, even though Shearman has a footprint that's global, your hub and root is in the US. I'd love it if you'd give a quick overview of the firm and what it's up to today, sort of where it's come from and where it's going.
Absolutely. So Shearman has an amazing storied history. I believe, and don't quote me on this, as I newly joined, we are coming up on our 150th anniversary. And it's one of those law firms that has a storied brand within the marketplace. We have, I believe, 23 offices scattered around the world. We work with major financial institutions, private equity firms, corporates of all different sizes on a myriad of legal opportunities and challenges.
Fair enough. I was going to say there can't be a time zone where you don't have a presence right now.
Exactly.
So keeping that in mind, I'd love it if you'd share with our listeners what you really love about your profession.
Well, I love that I can say I love what I do. And when people come and ask me what I do for a living, and I tell them that I do marketing or business development for lawyers, and they say, "You work with lawyers?" And I say, "Yes," and my eyes grow as big as saucers. And they ask that question, what do you love about your job? And I think about it in two different ways. One, I love that there is a strategy behind cultivating and building those client relationships and taking a step back and really being thoughtful and targeted with who we reach out to. One, to make sure that it fits within our firm strategy. And then two, to make sure that we are the right fit for the client. I also I get to work with really, really smart people every day. And being able to help them kind of reach up and grab something and help them achieve their goals, that's something really special that you don't get to do in many professions. And then when I think about the profession as well, not just kind of my job as the Director of Business Development, what I love about being in the legal marketing industry is I get to make an impact, and I get to be a change agent for those business professionals that do what I do. So being able to change how firms go after clients, how they deliver legal services, that is a super cool and neat opportunity to have.
No doubt, no doubt. Thanks for sharing that. One thing I talk to people about as a recruiter, I think about people and their career trajectories. Sometimes it's a very linear path. Sometimes there are setbacks that get us to where we're going. So if you'd be comfortable sharing with our audience, can you talk about what might have at one time seemed like a setback that you faced that later you realized got you to a point of advantage?
Absolutely. So for those of you, the listeners you don't know, Valerie and I actually went to college together, and we met just a couple years ago. And while I was at Brown University, I was an ice hockey player, and my love of sports runs very deep. And I got the opportunity to work for the NHL and work with their broadcast partners. So to me, that was a dream job. If you could have given me a job that just screamed Kelly, it was that. And then in 2004, there was a lockout by the owners. So the 2004-2005 season was canceled. And I, like so many of my colleagues at the NHL, we were made redundant. And so this dream job, this career in sports I thought I had, came to a screeching halt. And I took a step back, and after a quick stint of coaching ice hockey overseas, I kind of took stock of where my skills were, where there might be opportunity, and I tried to think outside the box. And that's where I sat down with a now retired partner at Shearman and Sterling.
Mhm.
Very apropos and full circle that I'm here now, who kind of talked me through what business services marketing looked like, and getting some advice from my father, who is also a lawyer, so the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. I embarked in this. So if I had not had that huge setback and having this career and job that I really allowed to define me at that point, I would never be sitting here having this conversation and at Sherman and Sterling. So at the time, it absolutely gutted me. And now I look back and I think of it as a gift.
Right. Sometimes we're the architects of our own fate, and other times we back into something that we find we never would have thought to explore, but are better for it. So it's really cool to hear about that. Now that you've sort of found your comfort zone, what do you think is the greatest strength that you bring to the business development function?
So, in terms of leadership and stepping into leadership, I'm also serving as the immediate past president of the Legal Marketing Association. I was the president last year. We do, and you're thinking about putting together the board. We did the Clifton Strength Finders, which I do encourage all listeners. If you haven't taken some sort of test to figure out what your strengths are, please do. And there are 5 of them. I actually wrote them down and prepping for this call today, and it was so fun to revisit them. Positivity and kind of always seeing the bright side. Wooing, at first you're like, wait, wooing? What is that?
Mhm.
It's the ability to meet new people and to kind of bring them to your way of thinking, or to see your side, to kind of win them over.
So listening and
Cultivating
persuading both, it sounds like.
Exactly. Development and kind of cultivating people. I'm a competitor at heart, and I think that is absolutely a strength, and being able to communicate. So when you take all of those and I step back, and you've got the strength finders, and it gives you the breakdown and things that you can do, it's what I see as one of my strongest attributes is actually building a team and finding the right people to fit. You can't have all superstars on your team. Everybody needs to play their role as part of a team. And how do you inspire not only the best from somebody, but for everybody to work together? So when I step back and I'm like, okay, what am I really good at? It's building a team, which makes a little sense with the athletic past.
Oh, no doubt. Yeah, no, I was going to say, my daughter is a fifth grade basketball player, and I tell her all the time that these skills will serve you well, regardless of the team's track record. So no doubt, knowing that there's a mix of quiet doers and people who carry the laboring oar.
Absolutely.
For sure. Well, with that in mind, what do you think are really the secrets behind you getting to where you've gotten at this point in your career?
Telling my secrets? You want me to tell my secrets? Okay. All right.
A few.
All right. Just for you guys.
Little secret sauce.
Just a little secret sauce. Hard work. As an athlete, you kind of grow up and you know that you have to put the time in the gym or practice. There's no way around it. Doing the work, putting in at times the late nights, or kind of the time on the weekend. That's important, and it will pay off. I think back so often to the nights I stayed late, the nights I put my hand up and said, sure, no problem, I'll take care of this. It does pay off. Investing in relationships and practicing law and is so much of a relationship business. If you think of and you take a step back, we don't produce a widget. We just provide this and provide guidance and advice. You need to have relationships to be able to kind of listen what you're saying, take your advice, do good work. You gotta do good work, and you gotta own your mistakes. So I mentioned a little bit about my ice hockey background. I'm a goalie. And when you're a goalie and you make a mistake, the whole entire world sees it. You can't blame it on your defense as much as your whole team says it had to get through everybody till it got to you. And you've got to own if you make a mistake. And I think that is a lesson that I learned early on, was, if you make a mistake, you make a mistake. You fall fast, you fall forward. And then team. There's not many things that you do in this world without a team around you. Even those in individual sports or individual practices, you have a support team around you. So finding a way to approach things with your team in mind and having that team mentality, it's really important.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. It's interesting. You mentioned serving as president last year, and just dating ourselves. It's March of 2022 right now, so that means that you served at the helm of an association during some of the height of COVID, which makes me think about the question: how has the legal industry and the business development piece of it particularly changed since you arrived on the scene? I don't mean the scene, the leadership of the association, but how has it changed since you've come to the legal industry? I'm sure you've watched practice groups that didn't even exist grow and others that were highly relevant shift. But what does it look like for you?
So I came into legal marketing back in 2000, or professional services marketing about 2006. So I've seen so much growth and shift. And when you look at the external factors and we look at 2008 and the economic recession, we look at the pandemic. I mean, we can't discount the impact that it's had. There's really three kind of buckets I would put the change in. The first is the use of business professionals within a law firm and really giving them kind of a seat at the table and letting them help drive. If you look at a law firm, yes, it's absolutely a partnership and it's also a business. Right. And I think about myself, I get in a taxi and I'm located in New York City. I get in a taxi. I do not tell the taxi driver which way to go. He is the one that is on the streets all day long and he knows there's traffic on the FDR because the UN's in session. Right. So what I've loved and I've watched and I've had a front row seat is law firms going, guess what? I'm a lawyer. I'm really good at litigating a case. I don't know business development. I'm going to bring Kelly in, who's an expert, and I'm going to let her do her job. So really that opportunity to bring really smart people in and giving them kind of the opportunity to help run the business. The second is the use of data and a strategic approach. And if we think about, big data and AI, and it's absolutely such a driving force now. And if I watch it kind of come on the scene and firms harness the ability to use data and actually make decisions based on data rather than which way the wind is blowing, or what, investing in a practice or an office because one partner feels strongly. Let's take a step back and let's crunch the numbers. Let's do analysis. Let's really make a strategic decision. Not to say that those weren't done before. And I've seen the ability of just data and just a different approach. And the third is the use of technology. And this has even more so been amplified in the past 2 years with COVID and the use of Zoom. I mean, we all Zoom now. It's become a verb. So a couple of different things with technology. I think the ability to connect the dots much easier and understand what, we as Shearman, we have systems that record our matter experience, and we can be able to pitch a client and demonstrate that we have the experience to exactly address a client's concern. There are so many systems and dashboards and all this cool stuff that we as business professionals and our lawyers can use to connect with each other and better serve the client. And then you get the whole Zoom and connecting virtually. And those that have offices, that many office locations are a little bit ahead of the curve. And if I think about being in New York, being in the financial hub, so many of the banks and the big companies, they wanted their lawyers close by.
Sure.
And so you had several different white shoe law firms who were located in New York. And it was great that everybody was here in New York. You could walk to your lawyer's office. I have seen,
as one does. Oh, wait. No.
As one does, right? And sit down in person. And I do believe that you're going to start seeing work being more geographically distributed. Again, this is, not speaking as a Shearman employee, speaking as Kelly MacKinnon, who's been in legal marketing for a while. I think you're going to start to see some distribution of work, because someone who is in New York is having a meeting with me in New York, or they're having a meeting with somebody from Nashville or Chicago. So I think you're going to start to see a little bit more of those non-traditional law firms serving clients in bigger cities. And on the flip side, though, I think you're also seeing consolidation of law firms as well. You used to have some of the big clients who would have 50, 60, 80 law firms on their panels, and they're starting to be very thoughtful about narrowing that funnel down and having more for full service firms. So that's a lot. That's three things of several things, which, again, going back to your first question of why do I love my job and my profession? This, as much as people say that's just law firms, there is so much change and innovation that's happening in the industry. It makes it cool to be a part of.
Oh, for sure. It sounds like it's not just any change, but it's the marriage of two together. So, for example, technology aided by metrics allows you to get a sense of how you can accelerate things. Either one alone is a meaningful advance. The two together, taken in tandem, help you do your job and therefore help the firm's operations so that the lawyers can service their clients much more effectively. We only expect more of that in the future. So it's really interesting to hear your viewpoint on it. I guess, wanting to be respectful of your time, the last question I would ask is what the top bit of advice you would give to any listener about career advancement, with the perspective that you bring from more than a decade in the legal industry. How would you counsel people thinking of breaking into it or thinking of advancing in it?
Yeah. So in terms of breaking into it, talk to people and understand and ask questions. And people who do what we do love to do this, and they love to share their love of what they do. So anybody who's looking to break out or break into the legal marketing space, reach out to, there are several of us who are on the Legal Marketing Association website, or just find somebody in a law firm and look for business development or communications. Definitely reach out and ask questions, because you can see my enthusiasm jumping through the screen. I love what I do. As people kind of break in and think about whether it's what I do in the legal marketing space or anything, I'd say a couple of different things. I talked about this before. The hard work, there are no shortcuts. And I mentioned too about finding a silver lining. And when you come into any career, or if you switched careers, which I did a little bit later than most people, you got to find the silver linings. There are going to be things that you need to execute on that you don't love, that sometimes you kind of wonder, why are we doing this? And find the opportunity for growth in each one of those. Quick example, I had to enter data into a system, and then my boss was like, yeah, it's just not working right. Can we do it a little bit differently? And I was like, sure, no problem. And then it was like, can we do it just a little bit differently? And so in my mind, I was like, I cannot believe I just entered this 3 different times. And in my mind, I got the opportunity to enter this 3 different times. I know exactly these names. I know who they're with. I know who their relationship partners are, because I had to learn it. I entered it in so many times. So finding that lining, that this may not be, an opportunity, or it might be a frustration right now and turn into an opportunity. And I come back to relationships matter. They do. I'm, again, so privileged to be asked to join you today. And that is a relationship that we fostered when we first stepped through the Van Winkle gates back at Brown University. I won't say how long ago, because
we have a reunion coming up in a year. Yes.
Relationships matter, and invest in them, seek them out, and leverage them.
No doubt. I've always said that, even if it feels like a misstep in a moment, it's an opportunity for growth down the road. And you're certainly saying that, even if you didn't go where you thought your feet were pointed, you wound up at a great destination. So it sounds to me like Shearman is exceedingly lucky to have you. We're lucky to have you as a guest here at Danos Associates today. I want to thank you so much. I appreciate your time and your insight. You've shared some real key points and takeaways, and I hope to see you again on our podcast again sometime soon.
Absolutely. Thank you, Valerie, and thank you, Danos, for inviting me. It's been an absolute pleasure to be here.
Thank you.